You guys ready for your next comedian? Yeah! You guys ready for your next comedian? Yeah! Your hands together for Matt Levine. Thank you. Yeah! So let's just get it out there. I'm Jewish. I'm allowed to make fun of us, but I'm apparently not allowed to date that girl from earlier. But I'm not like the rest of the tribe. You can probably tell. I'm an Aryan Jew. And that means I can be extra harsh on us. Look at me. Blonde hair, blue eyes. I'm like a poster boy for the Aryan race. And they won't tell you this in the history books, but I'm actually the reason Hitler committed suicide. One day, Goebbels comes up to Hitler. He's like, "Excuse me, Mr. Hitler." Doesn't that sound weird, Mr. Hitler? Yes. He's like, "Oh no, please, call me Adolf. Mr. Hitler was my father." But Goebbels is like, "Well, I have some bad news." Does anyone else think it's weird they were speaking English in a bad German accent? "I have some bad news. Mr. Levin is a Jew." That's me he's talking about, Mr. Levin. Hitler's like, "Oh, you've got to be Scheiser than me. How do you know?" It's like, "Well, his real name is Levenstein Bergowitz." It's pretty Jewish. But I'm not really that much of a Jew. I'm more like Jew-ish. I mean, I was born that way, but I stayed that way for the jokes and for the money. I guess really I'm just not that into religion in general. Although I do think Mormons had it right when they invented their religion. I mean, they basically instituted mandatory orgies. Well, it's more like one guy and his 10 wives, but you know that dude's got stamina. Do you think it's like that in secular orgies? You know, people pair up, they start fucking and shit. After a few minutes, dudes start going down. As in passing out, horny bastards. Seems like such a shame. I mean, all that build up to the orgy, and I only last 1 minute. But if the dudes start dropping out, all the unsatisfied chicks must start clamming around the guys that are left. Pretty soon, just a group of girls gathered around the one remaining guy. He liked it so much, he wanted it that way all the time. And that's how Mormonism was invented. Another history lesson from Matt Levin. Thank you. But since I'm not Mormon, I've been trying this online dating thing for years now. And I've actually tried all the sites. Match, Plenty of Fish, LinkedIn, Aryan JDate. Yes. The real thing, people. Look it up. I think the reason that I'm not successful is because it's just too easy to make stuff up online. I think lying online is actually the reason that they don't have dating sites for grade schoolers. But that does seem like an untapped market. And I do mean untapped. Too soon? Ladies, if a guy is lying to you about the obvious stuff, aren't you wondering what else I'm making up? I mean, if he says he's a 6'4" tan bodybuilder and I show up, well, that's legit. But if a skinny little white guy shows up, you gotta know that Porsche he said he was driving isn't real. And he's definitely not that dolphin trainer working with the dolphins in the Hudson River. But I've actually gotten pretty good at talking my way out of trouble with girls. I mean, take the cliche example. You know, my girl comes up, asks me if she looks fat. I'm watching the game and shit, not paying any attention. I'm like, "Definitely, honey, definitely." All of a sudden here, "What? You think I look fat?" That's actually how she sounds. But I just hear that voice and my natural instinct kick in. I'm like, okay, what did she say? What did I say? And why did that make her mad? Probably the fat thing. All right, good, this is progress. Mind you, I'm probably high, so this whole thing just takes forever. So I'm just standing there looking like a complete fucking idiot. So I'm like, all right, what can we do with fat? What else is fat? Whales are definitely fat. but that's probably not a good connection. All right, what rhymes with fat? Flat? Her chest is definitely flat. Probably don't want to go there. Matt? I guess that's my name. Wait, what about fat with a PH? Shit, how long's it been? I better just go with fat. Otherwise, she might think I'm not being sincere if I take any longer. Oh no, honey. I thought you asked if you were fat. And yes, you are very hip and black person-ish. Yeah, that shit definitely worked. She's like, you know you've been talking out loud this whole time. But outside the online dating thing, I actually find a good place to pick up chicks is on long-distance bus rides. They ain't going anywhere. I mean, at first, they try to ignore you, right? But then I machine gun fire questions at them. I'm like, what's your name? Where are you from? How about those Knicks? What's your favorite episode of Sex and the City? Did you hear Fish is in town next month? And then bam, she responds, a hippie. Now we're engrossed in a real conversation. From there, all I have to do is ask her for a sip of her water and slip a roofie in the bottle. It's really always gamble taking a bus ride. I mean, you might end up next to that hot chick, or you might end up next to anyone else. It really makes me question taking a 4-hour bus ride just to pick up chicks. But you know when you're on the bus early, see the people coming on, you see that fat guy, you're like, please don't sit next to me, please don't sit next to me. Maybe put your bag up on the seat, maybe sit in the aisle seat, just so it's like, oh really? You're gonna make me stand up and move my bag, just so you can sit there. Now things are gonna be awkward for the next 4 hours. Thanks a lot, asshole. So the real trick is just to get on the bus late. That way, you can choose who you sit next to. So I'll get on a little later, survey the landscape, identify my target. I'm looking at you, I don't know who it is. I'll strut on up. I'm like, feel suave, I'm like, excuse me. Could you actually stand up and move your bag? I was hoping to sit there. She usually gives a look around behind her. And then she gives me a stare like, dude, the bus is like a quarter full. And then I feel really awkward. So I just asked her for a sip of her water. Thank you very much.